Okay, good evening, and this is vk3sl test missions on 160 metres, and I did get here in time. It's always a bit of a last minute sprint to get into the booth and set things up, and I did notice a faint trace on 1869, which had me a little bit concerned, but checking and double checking, it doesn't seem to be anything of consequence. Hope not. So if there's any issue, please do let me know, and I will cease and desist. These are just a ad hoc form of, well, it's a mania of sorts, really. It's like an itch. So yes, I come in and scratch every afternoon between 5 and 6 test missions. And of course we use modulated sound as the source material for these tests, and we use the narrowband FM mode at this point in time. Anyhow, probably won't be here tomorrow. I may be. We'll see how we go. I'm going to do a bit of a walk tomorrow. Looking forward to getting out and doing something. And it's rare to get out and exercise and see something, see an horizon. Might do the Mount Victory walk tomorrow. So to set the scene, been dredging through the 78s, and I found my copy of this, but it's in such bad condition that we may opt for an alternative source. So I'm just looking for it now. It's a recording with Mr. Nathaniel Shilkret and his orchestra, with Arthur Hall as the vocalist, and a song from the Roaring Twenties, Where Is My Maya? And I'm vk3sl testing.
fire. And she said to me, say, did you see little Mr. Meyer? He's a mountain climber. Every weekend he goes to spend way up in the Himalaya mountains. Tell me how he spends his time. Why don't he take me when he goes to climb? Now where is my Meyer? And where Himalaya? Each week a tiger, my little Meyer, I've decided Himalaya. Now what is the reason he keeps on climbing? It's not the season. I'm asking where is that Meyer? For what goes up must come down.
There we have it. The Roaring Twenties. That was recorded back in 1927. That's Chilcot and the band. So, yes, where is my Meyer? Right. Okay. Next cab off the rank is a Vitatonic. Now, I've never listened to this one. Russ Morrow, whoever that was, who was actually nobody. I'm sure Russ Morrow is somebody else. It's a pseudonym. And as is always the case with these Vitatones, and these records are made by the Associated Music Publishing Company of New York, and they're transcription records in the Hill and Dale mode, and they were circulated to syndicated stations who played them as incidental music. But the great thing about them is that they're hi-fi, they're great audio, it's amazing. So that's what we enjoy here. Yes, we celebrate the best that we can get from recordings from way back. So especially without any processing. So let's have a listen to Goody Goody, it says on the label. Let's see if it lives up to its name. vk3sl testing. vk3sl testing on 160 metres in the narrowband FM mode. Listening to Mr. Russ Morrow, whoever that was, on an associated record. And I think we'll continue. I think we'll hear the second track on this. I don't know what it is. I can't lean over the label while it's playing, but we'll just let things continue. vk3sl testing on 160 metres. Test missions in the narrowband FM mode. Also streaming online. You can find that by looking on YouTube and just putting in my call sign, and there's a channel devoted to these missions, and there's a log of past programs, and it's sort of the go-to place. Actually, the other go-to place is my blog spot. So it's vk3sl.blogspot.com. It's dot, not and. So that's another point of contact, and at the blog page there is an email address. So yeah, there's a few ways you can get in touch, and a few ways you can experience these missions, afternoon sessions. And it was all sort of inspired by the corona lockdown, and we're sort of moving out of that, or maybe we're moving back into it, but I've sort of kept things going because it gives me something to do. It's pretty tragic, isn't it? Anyhow, we'll have a listen now to some PDQ Bark. I found a PDQ Bark record on the shelf here, and I think it deserves an airing. So we're going to hear Mr. Professor Peter Schickele, and he is going to give us the wrap on what's happening with the long-forgotten member of the Bark family, and there is a lot to be had. This is from a live performance at Carnegie Hall, recorded in 1966. So the SP10 is warmed up, so fingers crossed we should all be okay. vk3sl testing.
It always amazes me that at this point, after many concerts, and a recording, there are still people who doubt the existence of P.D.Q. Bach. Well, what can I say? The idea that his works were actually written by Christopher Marlowe seems ridiculous. Aside from the stylistic problems involved, I'm sure Marlowe could have done a better job. We also have references previous to mine about P.D.Q. Bach, which should silence any doubt. I'm sure that many of you know that Robert Schumann, when he first became acquainted with the music of Brahms, wrote in his magazine, "Hats off, gentlemen, a genius." In the next issue, before the publication of which the music of P.D.Q. Bach became known to him, he wrote, "Hats back on, gentlemen, an idiot." P.D.Q. Bach was well liked by his friends and also by his acquaintances. The story is told about the time that a bunch of the boys were sitting around having a hot session of trio sonatas, and the violinist's G-string broke, and P.D.Q. Bach, who is known, after all, for the wigs he wore, they were particularly fine, offered to take his wig off and use it to replace it, and so they used Bach's hair for the G-string. Well, that's true. Truth is just truth. It's not. You can't have opinions about truth. For the first piece on our program, we have the grand oratorio, The Seasonings, Schickele number 1/2 TSP. This piece is dedicated to one of his girlfriends at the time, and it has monumental proportions, unlike any other piece we've discovered of his. The fugue might be called the grossest fugue of all. It is really something. The final thing I'd like to mention about this piece is the keyboard writing. Now, some of you may know that Scarlatti, the great keyboard composer, got so fat during his later years that the hand crossings, which were so common in his earlier works, disappeared in the later works because he was too fat to cross his hands. That's true, you know. Nobody seems to take these concerts seriously. That's the one thing I don't care for about this. I'm willing to go through it to get P.D.Q. Bach in front of the public. But the fact of the matter is that P.D.Q. Bach stopped writing solo keyboard works completely in the last period of his life because he got so fat he couldn't even reach the keyboard. He just couldn't reach the instrument. He did develop a way of playing side saddle, however, that led to a whole interesting school of continuo playing because, of course, he couldn't get all the notes. So when you see in a music history book a reference to a sonata for 2 violins and discontinuo, that stems from this practice of P.D.Q. Bach. So I think we're ready now for one of the most austere, sparse, hard to get to, and therefore greatest pieces that P.D.Q. Bach has ever written.
Chest transmission, vk3sl.
That lacked but one ingredient, and so the shepherd chef sought out a soothsayer, saying,
Soothsayer, say unto me the sooth.
so she said.
Time, for time is running short. By time, so fair. By time, the season's o'er. By time, take care. Everywhere is fine for taking time, but in march of time, beware. Everywhere is fine for taking time, but in march of time, beware. Monday too. By time, so fair. By time, now thy subscription's through. By time, take care. Everywhere is fine for taking time, but in march of time, beware.
Silken purse full of many spices, whereupon she said to him,
if you've got the money, honey, I've got the time. If you've got the money, I've got the time. If you've got the inclination, I've got the time. If you've got the inclination, I've got time for love.
Overtime, and I must insist you not play it. No, sorry.
then asked he of her,
Have you any onions? And have you savory?
but she answered him not, saying,
Onions have I, but savory have I none.
whereupon he scolded her.
Then thou Thou art an unsavory rapscallion.
But he took her wares with these words.
A hard man is he who an onion shreds, yet not a teardrop sheds.
Of all her teachings, some precious sesame seeds to him, and tried to warn him, but in vain, for he interrupted her, saying,
Open sesame seeds and see what you see. Open sesame seeds and see what you see. See. See what you see. See what you see. Open, sesame, sesame mucho, Open sesame seeds and see what you see. Open sesame seeds and see what you see. See.
He opened the forbidden seed and found therein another seed, to which he said,
And who art thou?
To which the seed replied,
I'm coming. I'm coming. For my head is getting long.
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
Somebody's a-coming, see, loudly sings the stew. Somebody's a-coming, see, loudly sings the stew. Somebody's a-coming, see, loudly sing ooh. Somebody's a-coming, see, loudly sing ooh. Somebody's a-coming, see, coming through the rye. Somebody's a-coming, see, please don't ask me why.
You've been listening to Peter Shickley, aka PDQ Bark. Or was it the other way around? Yes, exhausting. I think we'll leave the other side for another time. This is vk3sl Test Missions. And I want to thank Mr. J. He is the wonderful source of all of these Vitatonics. And Mr. J quickly put me in the straight and narrow. It was indeed Russ Morgan, who we heard earlier on with the those wonderful Hillendale Vitatone recordings. All right, I've got to find something else now because I don't think I could cope with another half an hour of PDQ Bark. And incidentally, these are test missions. No entertainment intended. That lurching and screaming, of course, is there to flex our receivers, make sure that everything is working within the required passband. What am I going to do? Let's find another record. And what we have here, glasses on, disc in hand, up to the microphonics, and we have Vivaldi Gloria. I think this will sort of subdue things a little bit. Yes, I like this record. Hopefully it'll work this time. Last time we had a bit of a wow event. Not the type of wow event that I would have liked. But anyhow, we'll hear Neville Mariner and David Wilcox and the choir of King's College, Cambridge, and the Academy of St Martin in the Fields. And a recording made back in the 1960s. VK3SL testing.
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
vk3sl testing on 160 in the narrowband FM mode. Fortunately, there is wow on this record, and I think it's a swinger. I think I discovered this before and quite forgotten actually. This record seems to be not centered properly, and I think that's the cause of the problem. Could be the SP10 playing funny buggers again. I'll just check that. I've got a stroboscopic here, and we'll hold it up to the light and we'll have a look. What do we see? Oh, yep, it's interesting. The table was okay before, but it is not doing what it should. So I think it's a combination, because there's a fair bit of movement in the playback characteristic. So a couple of combined issues there. That's what these tests are all about. They're about learning about what's right and what's not, and what needs to go into the log for indefinite appraisal. What have we got? I don't think I've got anything else, to be honest. I think we'll wind it. I need to go inside and do other stuff. And tomorrow, I think I probably won't be here tomorrow. We'll see. We'll wait and see. I may try and avoid the traffic and go back a little bit early and leave early, but we'll see how the alarm clock goes tomorrow morning. Right, folks, thank you for tuning in. This is vk3sl test missions on 160, and nothing else to it. It's just a silly indulgence, really. Catch you next time.